Q&A with Amy Linda, aka Dole Whip Junkie. I have mentioned her channel before. Hi, Amy.
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing good. How about you?
Pretty good.
Okay, so are you ready to get started?
I absolutely am.
Okay, so we don't have a lot of questions, which is probably kind of good, so this doesn't go on forever.
Yep.
So our first question comes from Nikki. Well, it's more of a statement than a question, but she said, I would love to know what y'all do in order to motivate yourself through plateaus or times when you're not seeing results, although you're putting in the work.
Well,
So, go ahead.
well, I think that I one of the things that I do is when I feel like I've hit a plateau as far as like weight loss goes, I try to remember that there's like multiple different ways to measure like success. So, if you are feeling more energetic, that's a form of success. If you're um your body, you can still see your body changing, but you're not necessarily seeing a difference on the scale. That's another way to measure success. So I tried, that's one of the things I start to do is I would like try to think like, well, what are some of the positives that are going on right now?
I'm actually the same way. I focus on non-scale victories because for me, I I never saw a lot of movement on the scale till recently. And I started to get depressed and I started like living by the numbers.
Right.
So it was really unhealthy for me to focus on those numbers. So I do try to focus on the non-scale victories a lot more than my numbers, my weight. Man, I'm out of breath today. Our second question comes from Nikki again. And she says, this could be for you or for both of us. She says, as an adult, how do you deal with a spouse, partner, or family members or friends that don't understand your love of Disney?
Well, this kind of fits me. Um, my husband Dan, he isn't necessarily a Disney hater, but he's not somebody who is like all about it and wants to watch all the movies like I am. What we try to do is we try to focus on like things that he is interested in. So he's a history buff. So when we like if we go to Disney, we try to focus on like letting him go has one of the really likes that, or like the Hall of Presidents. Or if when we do movies, like he really likes like Sword in the Stone and the historical ones, or like Robin Hood. So we tried to the same way with him, because I mean there's plenty of things that he's interested in that I just don't really care about.
For me, I mean, honestly, I don't think there's anybody in my life that doesn't understand my love of Disney. I'm lucky, I guess. So, I mean, that question doesn't really. Uh-oh.
I think you're
Yeah.
back.
Yeah, it's going in and out. So we're gonna try to do this the best we can. I don't know what's going on. You still there?
Yep.
Okay. So our next question comes from Lone Witch, aka Raynar, aka my hubby. And he wants to know what our favorite Disney song to work out to is.
Oh. I have a lot I like a lot of Disney music, so it's a hard one for me.
Maybe your top 3?
Recently I've been doing the Go the Distance from Hercules. Because that's a good one. It's motivational. Um, and so I guess I'll say that one's my favorite currently.
He's actually across the table from me, like mouthing it now.
Of course he is.
My first thought, I don't actually have a Disney playlist. Shame on me. But I was actually thinking about Go the Distance myself. And I'm getting the shame the shame gesture
Shame.
from across the
Shame
table.
on you.
Shame. Shun. But yeah, I would probably say Go the Distance, or probably Make a Man Out of You from Mulan.
It's a good one.
That is a good one. I like that one a lot. So yeah, if I start a Disney playlist, those two are gonna be on that playlist for sure. I need to get on that. The next question comes from Misty, and she says, "Do you think Mulan and Moana present good female and male role models for kids?"
I don't think, I will actually be completely honest. I love the movie Moana, and as much as I love it, I don't necessarily think that the men in there are great male role models. The father is, while they explain to us why he's like as strict as he is,
right.
I never think it's a good thing for somebody to, for maybe a child to learn that they should try to pressure someone to follow in their footsteps and not pursue their own dreams.
Right.
And I mean, Maui's fun, but again, not the best role model. Kind of narcissistic.
Right.
Mulan, however, I actually do. I think that Mulan's father is a great role model. He's probably one of the best Disney dads. And the Emperor is a great role model. So
for me, Moana, as far as female, definitely really good female role models in that one. Moana herself, she does her best, and the fact that she actually considers giving up on her quest shows that, you know, you don't have to be perfect, and it's totally okay.
I agree.
And then Moana's grandmother. I am a fan of the eccentric grandmothers in both movies. I think they're great role models.
I do too. I love them.
Because they are themselves. They're
unapologetically.
crazy. Yes. So those are definitely great role models for girls. And then, like you said, Mulan's father, you know, that story could have been totally different. You know, she could have come back and he could have told her to go, or totally
right.
that, you know, that could have gone two ways. And then I think Shang is also a good role model because, again, his decisions could have gone one of two ways. He spared Mulan, but he totally could have done what he was told, and he didn't. He did what he knew was right.
Oh, I agree.
So, yeah, I think both movies have really great role models for both girls and boys.
Hold on 1 second. I'm going to pause this for a second.
Sure.
Come on.
We had to stop a moment because I think a small child has gotten out of bed.
Akira got out of bed.
That's what I was just saying, because it shows that we're still alive. So I was like, I think a small child just got out of bed.
Yeah.
So we're waiting a moment.
Yes.
That's totally okay. Both parents. It happens. Okay, and then.
All right, I am back.
Our last question of the night comes from none other than Dan, your husband, and he asks, what inspires you? Yes, the hubby's got in on this.
Yes, hi, I just saw one in the background.
Yeah, they're balls. Yep. No, I was talking about Amy. Amy's kiddo got up. Our kiddo is fine.
Oh.
He thought I was talking about our kiddo getting out of bed. No. So what inspires you, and what was that, Dane? Okay.
Yeah. I think that well, I was actually thinking about this question earlier when he asked me and said, you guys should include that in your video. I was thinking that I believe that it's one of the things that inspires me the most is actually my dreams and like my goals. So to just be thinking about, if I don't do this and I don't keep moving forward and doing this, I'm never going to achieve the goals that I've set for myself.
Right.
And that in itself is inspiring. But I also, as far as I'll talk about like inspiration as far as weight loss goes, and health. I have some family members that are not very healthy due to like weight and stuff. Like my grandfather, I look up to him dearly, but he was always the type of guy who he'd get up for breakfast in the morning and he would eat like an entire casserole dish of cereal for breakfast. And then he used that same casserole dish and he called it his bowl, and he'd eat ice cream in it after dinner. And we never thought anything of it because he was never heavy set. He was always skinny because he worked. He was a really hard worker. So we were just like, well, if he's not overweight, then he's fine. But what we ended up finding out is that that wasn't true. He ended up getting diabetes and cancer. Which we believe a lot has to do with his diet. And so one of the major things I do when I'm thinking about inspiration is that I don't necessarily just want to focus on getting skinny. I want to focus on getting healthy.
Right. So my inspiration is very similar. Nobody in my family, my immediate family, was very healthy. We were all overweight. Me, my sister, my dad, and my mother were all overweight. Then my dad, as far back as I can remember, always had high blood pressure. Then he was diagnosed with high cholesterol. Then he was diagnosed with diabetes. And that went from type 2 to type 1, where he had to have the insulin instead of the medication. My mom ended up having high blood pressure. She ended up having to have a pacemaker put in. Just all kinds of health problems. And for a long time, for a few years, I've been trying to drop this weight because I knew eventually it would catch up with me. But for some reason, I always stopped. And I think it was due to the fact that I was so focused on the numbers instead of just trying to be healthy. Like, that was always the plan, to be healthy, but
Right.
it became about the numbers, so I always quit. That is not so this time around. I have figured out what works for me. The fact that I'm finally able to understand what works for me, and the fact that I'm actually doing this and sticking to it in and of itself is an inspiration for me. Because by now, I started back in November. The old me would have already been done by January.
No, I totally get it.
And yeah, so the fact that I have grown, and yes, I have type 2 diabetes, and I also have other health problems. But the good thing about having those diagnoses now is I can change that. With the type 2 diabetes, I can get off the medication. I still have a chance to get off that medication. If I don't continue this path right now, I could end up like my dad and end up moving to type 1 and having to go on insulin, and I don't want that. I'm already pricking my fingers, and I already do enough to my body as far as medical necessity. I don't want to have to add another needle.
I totally get it. My mom, when I was growing up, it was mostly me and my mom because my mom and my dad weren't together. So my mom worked full time. So I spent a lot of time at my grandmother's house, and my grandmother would kind of, she was the type of grandmother that was like very, very caring and loving, but like, let's sit in front of the TV. I'm going to get you a snack. I'm going to, I'm going to do this and that.
I'm going to feed you all the chocolate and then send you home.
But throughout the years, that developed into a habit of where as soon as I sit in front of the TV, I'm like, oh, I want some chips. I want some this. I want some that.
Right.
And I think that for me, it did take a long time to start getting out of that mindset. Like I would be doing really well, and my old habits would slip back in without me even realizing that I was doing it again.
Right. It all has to do with a mindset, and it's all food can become addicting. It's no different than being on drugs because your brain literally reacts the same way. It says, this makes me feel good and I want it.
Well, that's exactly it. A lot of people ask why I decided to do, diet that's so low carb. And for me, it's purely about addiction because I know that it's a carb addiction. Yeah, Right. So for now, I'm eating as few of them as possible until I feel confident in myself to add a little bit back in.
Right.
So
for me, my changes pretty much have to be permanent. I'm not taking carbs out completely, though I'm actually considering maybe doing that for a while, kind of like how you're doing, and then adding them slowly back in. But like now that my gallbladder is gone, I have to go either low or no fat whatsoever because it will make me sick. Carbs, because I don't eat a lot of sugary things and I don't drink a lot of sodas. Today's a day where I am kind of picking out on the sweet stuff. I guess it's a cheat day for me. So I am picking out a little bit on the sweet stuff, but normally I don't really touch it. And so where all the glucose issues are coming from are the pasta and the bread and the, you know, so I have to be careful with the carbs part of it.
Yeah, that's the same exact for me. I'm not really a big sweets person. Once in a great while, I'll want it, but that's not really what I crave. It's like chips, and like if I don't have chips in the house, like the kids have a big thing of goldfish, and I'm like, I want the goldfish, so I have to like put the goldfish away.
Right.
But
like, this is what I'm having right now.
Yes.
Oh, they are fat free, so I have that going for me.
At least it doesn't bother your gallbladder.
It's good for my gallbladder, not for my sugar. I didn't even bother to look. Oh, Lordy. 30 grams of carbs, 10%. So these are literally like 1% above what I should have, technically.
Are we taking those away from you?
No. I just got asked if they should be taken away. I'm like, no, those are mine right now. No, these are mine. You already bought them for me. No, mine. I'm eating them. And I'm drinking a soda, which I have even less of most of the time too.
That is something that I am struggling with. Like I try to do I'll do Diet Mountain Dew because it doesn't have the carbs, but I still know that that's not good for me. I shouldn't do it at all. But I'm like, okay, I'm working on my carb addiction now, and I'm doing okay with it. And once I feel confident, then I'll start cutting out the caffeine because I know it's another addiction, that I have.
Right. You got to do it slow. You can't just cut everything out and expect to succeed. That was another thing that I did wrong for a long time. I would quit everything cold turkey, and then I would go back to it because my body was getting sick because I was literally going through withdrawals.
Yeah, I think that over here. I think that everybody, can figure out. I think that sometimes it takes a long time for people to figure out what is going to work for them the best.
Right.
And I think that, for some people it might just work to do all cold turkey, and for others it doesn't. And it's all about figuring out what works for you.
Absolutely. And that's the thing. I noticed where people will be like, well, so-and-so does this. How come you don't do that? And that's like, well, because I'm not them. That works for them, and that's great. And I might try it.
Right.
But that doesn't mean I'm going to stick to it because it may or may not work for me. Like I was told, well, not told, but it was suggested that maybe I might want to look into keto because my diet is already somewhat really similar to keto. And, I'm not sure that's what I want to do.
I think that
I might.
Keto is great. I think it works for a lot of people. I do think that it is hard to do for somebody that has to have low fat. Because
there is go ahead.
Sorry. Because a lot of food that is low carb ends up being fatty.
Right. And there is somebody that I follow, Keto in the Chaos, Tammy, on that channel. She does a variation where it's higher fat than carb.
Right.
And she's still losing a lot of weight. And that's great for her. But I'm sitting here going, just thinking about it makes my sides hurt.
No,
there's Rainer going,
definitely not for everybody.
No, and that's totally fine. And I support anybody who, everybody has something negative to say about any way that anybody does anything. I have friends that have had gastric bypass or another variant of that, and they've lost a lot of weight. And I've seen people bash people that, oh, well, you didn't really lose the weight. You had a surgery. And it's like, why are you, my thing is, why are you bashing people that decided to take their own lives into their hands and do something about it?
I 100% agree. I'm not going to say names or anything, but I have family members who have had the surgery done. And some of the family members have had the surgery done. And after you get the surgery done, it's a lot of work.
Mm-hmm.
As far as what you can eat, it's a huge lifestyle change. And I've had some family members that have had the gastric bypass surgery done and been very successful. And they've lost a lot of weight, and I've had some that have gained the weight back.
Yep, that's another thing. It's not
super easy.
No, it does not fix all your problems just because you had the surgery. You have to work.
Right.
You
exactly.
To even have these surgeries, you have to prove that you can stick to the diet. You have to drop a certain amount of weight. You have to go on a certain diet to even be considered. And then after the surgery, you have to build yourself back up. You have to go for liquid. Then you have textures, and you have to work on it. And if you don't,
it's a huge change.
Exactly. And the thing is, if you don't follow it, you end up getting what's called dumping, aka diarrhea. My channel's all about being totally open, so I'll just say it. You get major diarrhea. It's very similar to what happens to me if I have too much fat. My body says, nope, get it out. So then if you're not sticking to that regimen, that diet, that lifestyle, your body is going to protest and you're going to get sick.
No, I completely agree. I think that it's easy to be judgmental, but as long as people are trying their best to improve their life, I'm supportive.
Same here. And, I shake my head at the people who want to bring these people down, no matter what they're doing, whether they're doing keto, whether they're getting the surgery or taking a pill. We're all on a journey to get healthier. That's our goal. And if we have to utilize a surgery or a pill because we can't do it on our own for whatever reason, good for you. I don't understand. I don't get it.
People I think we should be, all about building each other up and being magical with each other.
Magical.
Magical. But
definitely.
I think I heard a kitty.
A kitty?
A kitty.
Well, Dan's question was our last question.
Yes.
So is there anything else that you wanted to add before we kind of shut things down for the evening?
No, I think that we're good. And I think, if anyone sees these videos and wants us to do it again or has any questions for us, they should feel free to ask the question. You can ask it on my channel. You can ask it on Jules' channel. And we'd be happy to do this again sometime.
Absolutely. This was fun. I'm glad we did this. I'm glad we finally got the time to do this.
Yeah.
Because we've been wanting to do this since what? February?
Yes, and it's just so hard. We both have the kids, and the kids go down at different times. And you're doing work and I'm working, and it's just when can we fit into our schedule? And apparently 8 o'clock at night is when we can fit it into our schedule.
Yeah, 8 o'clock at night seems like the perfect time. All right, Amy. Well, thanks for doing this with me. I really appreciate it.
It was nice. We'll have to do it again sometime. Bye.
Yeah. Bye.